Hey everybody, it's Christy from Crafty Christy's Creation. I have another craft project for you today. So let me get things pulled up here. I am just opening up Silhouette Studio. Let me see if I can turn this around and show you what we're doing. So we are loading up Silhouette Studio. Today I'm busting out my brand new Cricut Easy Press. So we are going to be doing a heat transfer vinyl project on this canvas bag I have here. So I don't know that you can see this that great. So I've got Silhouette Studio open. I'm just going to navigate to the project that we want. And we are going to do a 4th of July project today. Alright, so we are going to make this grunge American flag. And we're going to be putting it on our bag. So I've got it open here. Okay, so we have the design loaded here into Silhouette Studio. And the next thing I'm going to do is change my media size. I'm going to be doing the letter 8.5 by 11 since that is the size of the vinyl that I'm using. Now that I have that done, we are going to grab the design and group everything together, hitting Control plus G. You can also right click and hit group that way. Now that we have that done, we're going to mirror the design since we're going to be cutting it out of heat transfer vinyl. And you'll be cutting it on the back side of the vinyl, so you always need to mirror your designs for heat transfer vinyl projects. And then you can go ahead and delete the original. Alright, so we're going to group everything here, should be grouped together. Pull that back onto our mat. And let's go ahead and resize it. Yeah, that's going to end up being too big. Yep, too big. Okay, so we'll come up to the top and we'll go ahead and lock the ratio aspect. And let's make it 7 inches wide, and then that will go ahead and bring the height down to make it proportional. That's much better. Alright, now we'll grab the rectangle tool and we're going to draw our registration marks. So we'll draw one and then hit V on your keyboard or go over here and grab the selection tool. And then hitting Alt or Option, you can grab that and click and drag, and that will make you a copy. And now that we have both of those, we can go ahead and put them on the top of our design as our registration marks. Now I'm going to leave a good amount of a gap between the design and the registration mark because when I go to apply the heat press to it, I do not want the heat press to go over those registration marks because I do not want them to be melted into the fabric as well. So we're going to leave a little gap here, and then I'm going to align these together so they're straight across. Come up here to the Align tool, and let's see. Oop. Align center. Nope, that's not the right one. I always do this. Not Align center. Control Z to undo. Align middle. There we go. Okay, now we can go ahead and grab the rectangle tool again, and this time we're going to put a box around all of that. And this is our cutting box to help us save on our vinyl that we don't waste more than we need to. So again, grabbing the selection tool, and then I'm just going to play with this box and tighten it around my design and around the registration marks. So from here on out, you do not want to move those registration marks. You want them to stay in the same place going forward. And I'm going to grab everything here. You can, at this point, you can hit Control A to grab everything, or you can rubber band select. And I'm going to group everything together, and then I'm going to duplicate one to the left, and I'm going to grab that center one again and duplicate to the right. Since this design has 3 colors, I'm going to go ahead and make a couple duplications. And then for each one, we'll just subtract and leave only one color. So now we'll have to ungroup. So Shift Control G will ungroup. And then click off, click the flag, and then do that again. Shift Control G. Okay, and then we can go through and then delete all the colors and leave just one. And then if you are interested in learning more about the keyboard shortcuts, you can find that information in one of my blog posts, and that is a free download to help you while you're designing so you can get quicker with those keyboard shortcuts. But I'm also showing you here, you can also right click and go down and hit ungroup. Silhouette really has a lot of different ways for you to do the same thing. You can also go up to the top and find what you need in that top banner as well. So I'm going to drag this over to the side because I want to make sure I got the white out from under there. And when you're doing it on a white background, it's hard to tell. And now I'm just going to come up here and show you, you can use these other buttons here. And I'm going to back up and undo all my moves. And I'm also going to undo removing the white, and then I'll go ahead and remove that white again just to be sure nothing has moved and I didn't miss anything. And then we're going to do the same thing to this last piece, leaving just the white stars. So again, Control Z or right click and ungroup, and we'll do the same thing with the flag. And now we can delete the red and the blue and leaving just the stars. And then once we have that done, we can go ahead and start shrinking our boxes around our design. So like I said, you don't want to move the registration marks and you want to make sure those stay within, but you can shrink from the bottom and from the side. And then look how much vinyl we just saved by doing that. And then we'll do the same thing with the blue one. Shrink from the bottom and then shrink from the side. Cutting in nice and close to those registration marks. And then this one we have to leave because we already tightened it from the beginning. And we're leaving those registration marks alone. Alright, and now we're going to go through and group all of that. So Control G, or you can right click and hit group. And again, rubber band select all of those things, Control G to group those together. Now that will move around on your mat as one piece, which makes it so much easier when we're trying to work with all these different things. So then to get this over into the corner, I'm going to come up, click on that object, come up and click on the align panel. I'm going to align left and align top. And you see how that'll scoot that up into the corner so I don't waste any vinyl. Let's move this one out of the way. And now we're ready to go to the sun panel. Like I said, we're cutting this out of heat transfer vinyl. And the vinyl that I'm using works best on the flocked heat transfer vinyl setting. So I will be using that one. Obviously you use whatever works best for your vinyl. And then we'll look at the settings here. I'm not going to make any changes. Everything looks good there. I don't really use the offset button when I'm cutting vinyl. I don't really need those extra little dashes in there. I think that would mess up the design more. So I'm going to leave it just as it is. And when I have all the settings correct, I'm going to plug in my Cameo and get cutting. Okay, now that we have everything set up on our computer and we are ready to go and send it to our machine, let's get everything ready here. Alright, let me move this over here. So I've got my mat. Peel off my sticky part. So I just want to show you something here. I bought a 3-pack of mats and I put a little V up here so I know, and I'm using this mat only for vinyl. I have one that I'm using only for paper, and then I have one that I'm using only for felt, and then I just have like an extra one laying around. I have quite a few different ones, but I find that you know, when you don't mix materials, it really helps. Oh, we're doing blue first. Okay, and then the thing about the heat transfer vinyl. So this side is my shiny side, this is my dull side. If I can't tell, I will pick apart a little corner and just try to pick a little corner. Some of these different brands are really hard to tell. And then you have to decide, okay, which side has the plastic on it. So now I know when I cut this, I want the plastic, the shiny side, down. That's why you mirrored your design, because you're gonna cut into the actual vinyl. And now, let me make sure this is actually gonna be a big enough scrap. Let's see here. About 6. Let me check. So what I'm doing is I am looking at I'm just gonna click on my little design here and look at its dimensions. It's 5.5 by 2.5. So I just want to make sure that this square is going to be big enough, and it is. Whew. I love when I get to use my scraps. And this one's really, really sticky. Because like I said, I only use this for vinyl, and so it doesn't really take off a lot of the stickiness. I think I'm just going to peel my, cut this little extra bit off of there. I will use those scraps later, but now this is going to be a lot easier to figure out how to get it on there. Okay, so I've got that on there. I already fixed my ratchet blade to the correct setting. So cut mat. It's tightened down, it's in there. I have it, let me make sure. Yep, I put it on 3. Okay, now we can come over to the computer and hit send. And then it asks you, heat transfer vinyl often needs to be mirrored. Do you wish to send the design mirrored or send it as is displayed on the screen? And I'm going to click send as is because we already mirrored our design. So send as is, and then hit send. Alright, and then it should start cutting. Okay, and then while that one is cutting, we can go ahead and come back to our design here, and then go back to design. I'm going to pull this one off my mat, and then I can pull over, we'll do red next. So I'll put that one up here, and then again, I am, with it clicked, I'm going to come over to the align, and I'm going to align it left and align it top, and that will get it all the way to the edge. And then when this one's done, this one will be ready to put this on here and get cutting. Okay, this one's done. We'll unload it. We'll just pull all this off of here. Alright, now we can put our red on here. Remember, again, check each time you want the shiny side, which is the carrier sheet, needs to be down attached to your mat, and you want to cut through the underneath of the vinyl. So this one's got some bubbles in there, which is when I like to pull out my handy little brayer and just really press. I know there is not any, there's nothing under here because this is the carrier sheet, so there's nothing left on here. So these are just air bubbles, so I'm just going to press those out the best I can. If that's really a problem, you can always lift up a corner peel that back off, past that area. Looks like maybe it did actually cut through, so maybe I need to adjust my settings because there is pieces of plastic left on here. Okay, well, I'm just going to use my brayer to push this back down. That has never happened to me before with this vinyl, so it's really interesting. I'm going to adjust my settings. So when I go back to the send panel, I already have everything pulled back over, and instead of doing flocked, we're going to try heat transfer smooth, and that turns my blade down to 2. Okay, so I'm on 2. Alright. And now I'm just, I'm going to do a test cut. So I'm going to hit my little test cut arrows and I'm going to drag all the way over. If you need more help with how to do a test cut and how to do this, check out the Cutting Troubles blog post, and that will walk you through how to do some of this. And now I'm just going to hit test. I'd rather spend time doing test cuts than mess up a design and then have to go back and redo it. Now if I was smart, I would have put it way down here so that way I don't have to take this off my mat, but I wasn't thinking about that. I just wanted to make sure I was over far enough for my design. So, let's see if I can pull this up. No, and it didn't pull that up. Okay, so I am just going to go back to my flocked settings because I know that works. But that is, you know, sometimes you do a little trial and error. I think why there's just pieces left is just because it's just because this is a really intricate design because it has all of the little pieces that make it distressed. So I'm going to turn this blade back up to 3. Alright, and I'm going to let it start cutting. We'll hit send, and again it's going to ask me, I'm going to send as is. Okay, and then while that's cutting, now is a good time to go ahead and start weeding because this is such an intricate design, it's going to take a while. But I'm just going to show you what it looks like when you have this box, this weeded box around it, and with your registration marks. And yes, I have this chunk over here, which is going to end up being just wasted vinyl, but sometimes that's just part of the game. So then, these are my registration marks up here. Sorry, this is really hard to see. I have my registration marks up top, and then my design here. And then when I'm done, I can cut off all this extra part on the bottom that we're not using. So, and then I can just go ahead and start weeding. Okay, so now I've got everything cut and weeded. I'm going to pull over my Easy Press, and I did not end up buying the what didn't I buy? I did not end up buying the little heat press mat that goes with it. So I'm just going to do it on my ironing board here. All right, so I've got it on and it is heating up. 290. Okay, so I've got it set for 290. And the timer is set for 30, so I'm just gonna let that heat up. And then the first thing we're gonna do is just let it go ahead and just iron this guy flat. And let's actually, so this is just like a little tabletop iron. When I lived in an apartment, this was like the perfect size little iron to go on top of my, on my washing machine, because like I had no space. I guess the legs are kind of in the way for that. All right, we're not gonna be able to put it in between. And now I'm finding it's like the perfect little ironing board for doing my little crafting thing. So I use this guy a lot, actually, more than my real iron. Okay, so this guy is heating up. We will just kind of give this a good press and press everything out. And then we'll go ahead and start layering our vinyl. Oh, the other thing we need is masking tape. All right, I've grabbed the masking tape, and then what we'll be doing with this is we'll be putting little pieces of masking tape underneath our registration marks, so that way those are covered up, and then when we press everything down, it'll be out of the way. Okay, so it beeped at us to let us know that it is ready, and this is just kind of trial and error for me. So press and then just press the little Cricut button, and it's gonna give us 30 seconds. And this is kind of my little practice. So you are seeing this as I'm learning how to do this. So I'm just using this to help right now, and just to smudge out, to kind of do like a pre-iron here. And then, did you hear how it beeps when it's done? Okay, so I am learning that I am gonna need to plug it into a different outlet, because I cannot really even go across this entire thing, and I'm already out of room. Okay, so learning. All right, so this is pressed. Ooh, and it is hot. Okay, so the first layer that we're gonna do first is our red, and it's gonna go right there. And then I'm going to put this under my registration marks so that those do not melt into the fabric. So I'm putting the sticky side down. And I'm just letting that stick, and then I'm just gonna press this down, press that on there. Then let me grab my cloth. You never want to put your iron directly on the plastic. That'll melt and stick to your press. So I've got a little cloth barrier here, and I'm gonna put that down, and then what I think I'm gonna do is just put it like that, so I can still see my registration marks, because when I go to use this guy, I don't want to cover up my registration marks, because I do not want that melted to there. So now I'm gonna press down, and I am pressing, and we're doing 30 seconds. So I've got my registration marks. I pulled them kind of away from my design a bit, so that way I'm able to do this and use those registration marks to help me align all of my pieces together, but also not to have them melt into the fabric. And then we've got about 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's gonna beep. And now we know it's done. Pick that up. All right, let's see if one shot is enough. Ooh, it is hot. My iron definitely does not get this hot. That is for sure. Awesome. Okay, so when it gets that hot, you probably really only need one pass. It's not quite totally stuck down, but, oh. I didn't think about that. Okay, so the registration marks, that didn't really work, huh? What I think we're gonna do, so what I guess I should do is, I can still see the cutout here, and clearly I did not think this through very well. I'm going to figure this out and master it, so that way we can learn how to do this with the registration marks to help line everything up, because I am terrible. Even with these registration marks, like, I am totally, absolutely terrible at getting things lined up. So, okay, I don't know. We're gonna scratch that one. Yeah, that's barely on there, but that's okay because now we're gonna do this one. And it's okay that these aren't on there that great because we're gonna use this and it's gonna help us. I guess this part we can just eyeball, and then we'll have to figure out the registration marks for the next one. What I think I'm gonna do, I know that the blue should line up with the top of the red, and the side should line up. Okay, so that's where my mark should be. So before I go ahead and turn it up, I'm just gonna like hit this for a second, and maybe that will just help the registration marks kind of melt in a little. Let's see. Not even a chance. Okay. Well, that might not really work. All right, so again, I'm gonna go under those marks. And press. And then it's gonna count down while I press. Let's make sure I'm under those marks. I do not want that stuck to everything. And then I'm really pressing down here. Like, arms are shaking, pressing, because it is a mixture of heat and pressure that is going to make this vinyl stick and melt into the fabric. So heat and pressure, that's why you're really pushing down. Okay. Well, I think my idea with the registration marks might be a bust. And that is way not stuck. Okay, let's, we're gonna hit this again because that is really not stuck on there. So I'm really applying pressure to this top half because I know that's where my design is at. I'm just really pressing down. Got 10 seconds. And then it beeps. Alright, let's see if that helped. And I think I did, yeah, I kind of hit those a little bit. Hopefully the masking tape won't stick too much. But maybe that was hit enough. To make those marks stay. Okay, cool. So they're like kind of on there, but not really. Alright, so that's cool. So now when we take our white, we're going to line up our registration marks completely perfectly right on top of each other. Then if you line those up perfectly, not quite perfect. So when those line up perfect, the rest of your design will line up perfectly as well. You can just press that on there. And then again, we'll just do the top part. Again, I'm just going to kind of press at this top half because that's where my design is at. Really pushing down. I'm standing up, so like this is not just using my arms, but it's also like a core workout as I try to keep myself upright while I press down. So full body workout crafting, yay! Okay. All right. Those aren't super stuck. Okay. All right, so those look good. Now I should be able to peel this off, and it doesn't leave any residue because they didn't get super hot, so that didn't melt in. And then I'm just gonna do the whole design for another 30 seconds just to get everything really melted in there. So now I'm just pressing down in the center, pressing with all of my might, using my core and my arms, getting a workout while I make pretty things. I mean, how can you go wrong with that, right? So, you know, when you wear your yoga pants for crafting, there's a reason, because you might get your sweat on a little bit, especially when you're doing this stuff and working with all this heat. All right. All right, that looks great. Everything is good and stuck, and it is really, really hot, so I don't want to touch it too much. But there, this is my first project done with the Easy Press, and I tell you what, I am loving this machine way more than my iron. It gets a lot hotter than my iron could even think about getting, so it doesn't take as long. If I would have done this with my iron, I would have to hit every piece probably like 5 or 6 times. So this was so much faster, and it looks great. This is my distressed American flag design. You can find this on my website. And right now, everything is on sale through July 13th. When you buy 2 products, you'll get 20% off. So go check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial valuable. If you did, click like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future Silhouette Studio tutorials. If you are interested in purchasing the design used in this video, check out the link in the description below. Happy silhouetting! Until next time, with love, Crafty Christy.